Good morning and welcome. We're going to just take a few more seconds to let folks log in. Thank you for joining us. We'd also like to let you know that the webinar will also be available in Spanish. So if you'd like to listen in Spanish, please go ahead and click the interpretation icon at the bottom of your window. Bienvenidos a todos. Gracias por acompañarnos. Les queríamos dejar saber que el webinar también será en español. So puede oír la interpretación usando, oprimiendo el icono de interpretación en la parte de abajo de la pantalla. So vamos a comenzar. Let's begin. Oh, I stayed in Spanish. So thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So we have, my name, first of all, is Josefina Bojorquez, and I am the Community Engagement Senior Coordinator at Abriendo Puertas. And today we are very excited to be joined by Laura Scherler and Inaida Burgos from United Way, who will tell us all about the free online filing platform from MyFreeTaxes. This is Abriendo Puertas' third year collaborating with this platform and with United Way. And we've had the pleasure of being able to help over 4,000 families in the past 2 years file their taxes through the MyFreeTaxes platform. So thank you for joining us today, and I'll pass it on to you, Laura.
Great, thank you. I'm going to share my screen, and we will get started here. Sorry, I started obviously in the wrong spot. Thank you so much for having us. We are super excited to be presenting to your network today, and we are very appreciative of the support that you've showed MyFreeTaxes over the years, and we're happy to provide the folks in your network with more detail, and hope that this will lead to more people, whether they're your clients or your staff members, using free tax filing services to file their taxes. As Josefina said, I'm Laura Scherler. I'm the Senior Director of Economic Mobility at United Way Worldwide. And I'm joined by my colleague.
Hi, everyone. Inaida Burgos. I've been with United Way for about 2 years now. I'm the Manager of Economic Mobility here.
Great. And here's just the basic agenda that we're going to follow for today's webinar. We'll provide an intro to MyFreeTaxes for those of you who might not be familiar with the program. We'll go over the program components and key features. We'll talk a little bit more about the resources that we've made available for filers. We'll talk more about the resources that we have for partners, meaning nonprofits who promote MyFreeTaxes. And then Inaira is going to do a demonstration of the website. She's going to walk you through the process of how filers navigate the site and some of the other resources that are available. And then we'll take questions at the end. Okay, so what is MyFreeTaxes? I know that many of you, particularly those of you who work for nonprofits, may be familiar with in-person VITA sites, volunteer income tax assistance sites, nonprofit organizations, schools, or community centers that provide, volunteer assisted support to help people do their taxes. United Way is a huge proponent of VITA sites, and we manage, VITA coalitions and communities across the country. And about 15 years ago, we saw a couple of needs. One, we saw that the need for free tax filing assistance really outstripped the supply. There were not enough VITA coalitions and enough volunteers to do the number of taxes, to meet the need for the number of people who are income eligible for free tax filing assistance. At the same time, we wanted to try to free up VITA sites to help people who really did need in-person assistance to do their taxes, and to make and to empower people, who had the ability to do their own taxes, to sort of demystify the process and give people back some agency in terms of their own finances. And so in 2009, we launched MyFreeTaxes, which is an online tax filing program that helps people file both their federal and state taxes for free. We are a VITA program. We partner with the IRS's VITA, their national VITA program, and the software that we use to power MyFreeTaxes is the same software that's used for at local VITA programs. Since 2009, we've served more than 1.3 million people. We've helped people claim over $1 billion in refunds. And importantly, we've also helped people save, almost 250 or more than $250 million in filing fees. That's another thing that we think is really important is helping people, giving people choices when it comes to tax filing and helping people save money and get the most out of their refunds and tax credits, and not, give up a bunch of those hard-earned tax credits to things like filer fees or expensive, financial products like rows and racks. So we really designed the MyFreeTaxes user experience to be convenient, accessible, and supportive. In terms of like the convenient piece, we do federal and state returns. There is no geographic or age limit, and we've tried to create a no wrong door program design that points people to a free option regardless of their income level. If you or your household earns $79,000 or less, you are eligible to do your tax return on MyFreeTaxes, and we, will take you through the process to get access to the TaxSlayer software on our site. If you earn more than that, we also point you toward Cash App Taxes, which provides free tax returns for people at higher income levels. We don't have a relationship with Cash App Taxes, but again, this was part of our effort to provide people with free resources regardless of their income. We designed MyFreeTaxes to be accessible. The site is mobile friendly. It's available in both English and Spanish. And we've included resources for Schedule C filers. We know that small business owners often fall into the low and moderate income category, and yet they're not eligible for most VITA programs because they have to file a Schedule C return, which is technically more complicated. And so not only do we serve Schedule C filers, but we've tried to provide resources to make that process easier. We also operate all year. So our tax season doesn't end in April, it actually ends in October. So folks who file an extension can actually use MyFreeTaxes to file their return by the late filing deadline in October. And then finally, we've designed MyFreeTaxes to be supportive. We offer responsive services via the phone, via email, and live chat, all of which are staffed by VITA certified support specialists. Okay, a little bit more about how it works. So we have created what we call a no wrong door user experience, hopefully that empowers filers to choose the service that works best for their needs. So when Anira does the demo, you'll see that on the home page, there's two sort of categories, and filers are asked to choose how they want to file their taxes. The first category is file on my own, and we ask them a series of questions to determine whether or not they're income eligible. If they are income eligible for MyFreeTaxes, then we point them towards TaxSlayer. If they earn more, then obviously we will refer them to Cash App Taxes. If filers choose have my return prepared for me, then we give them a number of options, including, identifying a VITA site in their community. We link to the IRS's VITA site locator. So if someone is interested in, reaching, finding their closest VITA site, they can do that on the web. If there is no VITA site near them, we can refer them to getyourrefund.org, which is an organization run by Code for America. I should say a program run by Code for America that provides virtual VITA services that is a little bit more hands-on. So if folks feel like they need that one-on-one support, that's another way to get it. And then finally, if folks really aren't sure what to do, we do refer them to 211. There are lots of 211 call centers that provide links to VITA programs. Some of them will even help people make appointments. So that's also another resource that people can use. Okay, just a little bit more detail about the filer support that we provide, because I do think it's important, particularly if you are referring clients to MyFreeTaxes, you want to understand what you're referring them to and the support that they would be able to get if they have questions. So in terms of what I sort of labeled the responsive assistance that we provide, first, live help is available via our toll-free helpline, which is open every day from 10 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Until April 15th. And so that's really the bulk of when we receive the most calls. And so obviously we staff it most heavily through April 15th. We do have operators in English and Spanish that can answer questions. If folks speak a different language and still need help, that call center uses what we call a language line to provide support to callers in languages other than English and Spanish. So we would encourage them to call that toll-free number to get the support that they need via the phone. We understand that not everybody wants to make a phone call or is comfortable talking to someone on the phone or may need help outside of those hours. And so we also have VITA certified volunteers that respond to our email. You can find, our contact form here at myfreetaxes.com/contact us. If filers submit a question via the contact form, they generally get a response within 24 hours. We also have rolled out live chat this year and have volunteers that can answer questions via chat on our website. We also have some additional, what I would call non-responsive filer resources, sort of for lack of a better category. We have a searchable FAQ page for common questions. So for things that we get asked a lot in terms of, eligibility, how to find their username or password, how to get access to their prior year tax return, just as examples. Those are all things that are found on our FAQ page, and we've tried to make that FAQ page searchable, and so it's more accessible and people can more easily find the information that they need. We also have created a number of guides for filers who are interested in more in-depth, sort of step-by-step support. We have 3 comprehensive guides for Schedule C filers. And we've also this year created a guide for survivors of natural disasters because those taxes are a little bit more in-depth and do require some additional assistance. Okay, and so here, this is my last slide, just to give you a little bit more information about the Schedule C filer guides. These were created in 2023. Again, they are available in English and Spanish, like all of our materials. And we've created 3 of these Schedule C filer guides. One is a general filer guide for small business owners. One is more geared toward gig economy entrepreneurs, so people who drive for Uber or DoorDash or other episodic work like that. And then finally, we have one for home-based childcare providers, because again, some of the deductions that you would take and some of the losses, the depreciation that you would take is slightly different. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Inira to talk a little bit more about the filer guides and to lead you through the demo. And do you want me to stop sharing now, Inira, and you pull up the slides, or do you want me to finish the slide deck?
You can go through the slides because it always gets weird when I try to use PowerPoint.
Sure, just tell me when you want me to move forward.
We can go now to the next slide.
Okay.
All right, so the reason why we brought in some of these different guides, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about them in a little bit, but as Laura mentioned, Schedule C guides are typically something that most VITA sites will not do, not only because they are fairly complicated, but they generally take up more time. So VITA sites tend to have the preference of helping low to moderate income filers and do as many as they can. So whenever someone brings in a Schedule C, it's usually about 2 to 3 hours versus an hour of a general W-2 and maybe a retirement income. So MyFreeTaxes offered these filer guides. As Laura mentioned, we have 3 of them, where anyone who has a Schedule C, they're able to take this and show exact information on what they need to do to prepare for their taxes. So what they need to do before the tax season, the files that they need to keep on hand, any documents, how to expense their mileage. And part 2 is generally how to physically do that on the TaxSlayer website. So people, if they already have everything that they need from part 1, or they already know what they need, they can just skip over to part 2 and input all their information on TaxSlayer using the step-by-step guide. It includes screenshots, it includes tax tips. So right now, about 10% of MyFreeTaxes users have about self-employment income, where only 6% of tax returns include Schedule C returns for VITA, in-person VITA. So MyFreeTaxes is an opportunity for not only entrepreneurs to learn how to file their own taxes for Schedule C, but the ability to be able to do it from their own home instead of having to drive into an in-person VITA site and spend 2 to 3, sometimes 5 hours just waiting for them to be called up. So we try to include as many options as possible. We have the 3 different guides, such as the gig economy. That's the one that gets accessed the most. So folks who drive Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, you all know the ones. Home-based childcare, and just a general Schedule C guide. They're all open. I will show you everyone where it is on MyFreeTaxes in just a little bit when we do the demo. But as you can see in the second bullet point, about 28%, 17 to 28%, that's about 44 million people have self-employment income. So it's important that we are able to offer these to our filers and to all the filers who are low to moderate income, who need to file their taxes, they need to report it on their taxes, but don't necessarily want to pay the $200 to $500 it would take to go to a professional tax preparer if they can learn how to do it themselves. So if we can go on to the next slide. So I think I already went into a little bit of this, but the structure of the filer guides, it shows them how the business taxes work and the importance of keeping all the tax documents, how to keep track. We do have worksheets on every single one of these, and some of them even link to different spreadsheets that people can make a copy of and keep for their records and write down what's going on their for their expenses. And instead of them having to build a worksheet themselves, it's right there in the guide for them. So the filers and all the Schedule C business owners, they're able to just have everything right in front of them. It's a one-stop shop that all filers can use that have a Schedule C in a small business or a micro business. They can use to have that information for them. As soon as a micro or even small business makes $600, they have to file a Schedule C. So it's important that filers know what it is that's needed. Even if they made $600 or $605, they're still going to have to pay taxes on that. So they're going to need to know how to do that. They could see if an in-person VITA site can do that for them. There's no guarantee. It really depends on the VITA site. And we already know that if someone goes to a paid preparer, who knows how much money they'll take away from that and how many taxes they'll take, how much it'll cost for them to file those forms. So MyFreeTaxes does its best to try to find an easy way that shows filers how they could prepare everything, how to file it, and how to keep track of everything for next year. So if we move on to the next slide. I already mentioned all this. I am going ahead. But like I mentioned, small business owners, it shows the micro businesses such as Etsy's and side hustles, like if someone's into photography, if they're a freelancer, if they're a freelance journalist, or any other type of independent contractor, or even if someone does a little bit of construction work on the side, this would count for someone who's a small business owner and can use the general small business guide. The economy allows for folks who are mostly big Uber, Lyft, DoorDash. We know every single one of them. And home-based childcare is probably a little bit more niche, but those are for folks who operate a childcare business right inside their home, and it addresses several tax rules that are exclusive to childcare providers. So there's quite a bit of overlap between all of these guides. Every single guide, whenever there's that type of information, it's in there, but there are going to be different rules depending on the kind of role that they played within their lives. So it's important that those were mentioned in each one of the guides, and it does go into it as well when they're on tax layer and how to file it on their return. So if we move on to the next slide. Now, this guide is one that we have not mentioned yet, and that is, I actually think we have for like a second. So this is a guide called Leveraging Tax Time to Recover After a Natural Disaster. This is a brand new guide that was just released a couple months ago, back at the end of January. It's also on our website since yesterday. And the reason for this guide is we found that there were quite a bit of folks who were affected by a natural disaster. And as we've all seen, there have been more of them over the last couple of years. And it stands to reason there's going to be even more of them. So disaster takes many forms, whether it's major tornadoes, whether they're floods, hurricanes, it all affects people differently. And they all need to know how they could leverage taxes so they could better come out of that experience and be able to be prepared for their financial decisions that they need to make after the disaster. It also shows them the information for specific credits that they can take and how to apply for assistance with FEMA. So it's a very like an 100-page guide, but it also shows the same exact information that was shown in the other guides. They follow the same format of part 1 being the information on what they need to prepare for their taxes, all the files they need to have on hand, the files that they're going to have to look for if it was lost during the disaster and how to do so. And part 2 shows how they could file it on TaxSlayer and what all the different boxes and forms and the meanings of everything, what is applicable and what isn't applicable, how to do things for a specific state and where to find that information, and where to go to apply for disaster assistance if they need to do so, even if they believe that they aren't qualified for it, they might be. So it's important for people to be aware of these different tools that are available to them and how they could better come out of these financial decisions after being faced with a disaster and already being in such a high amount of stress, what they could do from there. So if we move on to the next slide. Now, MyFreeTaxes have new partnerships with Change Machine and Savvy, both doing different things, but these are additional financial resources that we have for our filers. So Change Machine connects filers to financial coaching. So although this is not something that MyFreeTaxes does, we do a lot of taxes. We do have a partner through Change Machine that helps people link to financial coaches in their area so they could find information on how to budget, identifying financial values, which bills should they pay first, saving with an IRA and income tracking for self-employed. It also shows them information on what they can do with their tax refund, and it helps them find different tools in not only in their state, but in their local area that they could use to find the best ways to improve their financial stability and economic mobility. So in addition to that, we also have a partnership with Savvy, and they are a fintech company that helps people with student loan borrowers navigate the repayment system and better understand their debts. We have Savvy hosts regular workshops through MyFreeTaxes with this partnership, and they help filers and students find information on how they could best enroll in the most beneficial repayment plan for their student loans and how to meet them for their financial needs. This is free, and it's at no cost, and people can do that via UnitedWay.com, via UnitedWay by Savvy.com. So these are 2 different options, and again, we will show you a little bit more once we go through the MyFreeTaxes website. But both of these different tools are ways that we can help filers who are asking for more information and for more resources outside of filing taxes that MyFreeTaxes can't do ourselves. So we partner with other folks who have the better knowledge and experience, who can help those filers directly. So I believe, okay, there we go. So these are different partner outreach materials that we have. Anyone can use it. We are going to share these slides, and each one of these are links, and we have different materials available in English and in Spanish. So first one is the link on how to access the partner portal and where you can find the promotional materials that we have here. These are not the only materials we have. Those are just as many that could fit in this slide. So don't think that it's just that. We also have videos. We have different template blog posts. We have different social posts that can be used. And we have different posters that can be used, as well as customizable materials that you can use to just add your logo on top of our logo, in addition to our logo, to promote within your areas. So along with the MyFreeTaxes one-pager, we do have different flyers, and please note that these have all been updated for this year. So all of our materials are current and you can be used to share with anyone within your community, within your audiences, libraries, whatever the case may be. So please feel free to access unitedway.com/myfreetaxes/partners. And if you do decide to, it just needs a free login. It's free to use. You need to create a login and just username and a password that can be created, and you can access everything. You also have access to data reports. So if you wanted to track how many filers were you assisted in your area, we do have data reports that are broken up into zip code, into county, into state. So you can access that information and see the exact number of filers you were able to assist with the materials and with the returns that have been completed. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at partners@myfreetaxes.org, and one of us will be able to see that and we'll be able to answer you guys as quickly as possible. So I believe this next slide is the demo. So I am going to share my screen. All right, can everyone see that? Can you? Okay. So right here is our MyFreeTaxes homepage. As Laura mentioned, we have two different options here: file my own taxes and have my taxes prepared for me. Down here is where you can see the criteria on what is needed to be able to file my own taxes. If someone needed to have someone file their return for them, please note that there is a difference in income limitations. Anyone who makes under $60,000 per household, that's not per person, it's per household, will have to make under $60,000 a year so they can have someone prepare their taxes for them at an in-person VITA site. If they're going to be filing it on their own, the income limit is $79,000 again per household. One other thing to mention is filing your own taxes through TaxSlayer that we're going to show in just a second only allows for current year returns. So if you wanted to file a 2021 return, that won't be available here. However, it is available if they wanted to go to an in-person VITA site and they make under $60,000. Before we get into the rest of this, I do want to mention that there is also a Spanish tab. So if you click on that, same thing shows up, just in Spanish. And it's the same throughout the entirety of the site. So if you needed to use the different language, it is there, as well as using the live chat option that we have. Right now, there's nobody available because I'm here, but we do have the live chat available. And once it is available, it says that there is someone online that can assist with your questions, and we answer them very, very quickly. So going back to the English version, let's go through file my own taxes. So we're just going to be asked 4 different questions, very, very simple. And there is a civil rights poster here that you can look through that you can use to make sure that your rights are protected while using MyFreeTaxes and an in-person VITA site. Every in-person VITA site will also have this poster. So 4 questions. 1, did you earn less than $79,000 in 2023? What is your zip code? I am in Florida, so let's put in a standard Florida zip code. And do you have income from self-employment? It doesn't really matter. The only reason if we ask this question is because if you say yes, you will have the option to check out the new MyFreeTaxes self-employed guys. This does not affect the answer, you being pushed over to TaxSlayer or Cash App Taxes. It is just so we can show you that this resource is available for those who want to use it. But for me, I do not have income from self-employment, so let's just say no. And the last question, although this is optional, this does not have the little red asterisk that everyone else has, is whether or not you wanted to be contacted by United Way. So optional, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And lastly, we'll hit file now. So once you hit file now, you'll be able to see the message says we're transferring you to TaxSlayer using our special referral link so you can file your taxes for free. And note, this does not support you filing for users that earn more than $79,000 or more in 2023. And if they hit file now, you will be seen with this specific page. This is the page that makes that is the VITA version of TaxSlayer. If you just go on to taxslayer.com, you will not see this page and you will not have the free version of TaxSlayer that has a $75,000 income limit. You have to go through this referral process to ensure that you will be having the free version of TaxSlayer that has a $79,000 income limit. Right now, TaxSlayer does have a free version, but I think the income limit for that is I think about 40,000 or 39,000, but that's only if you go through TaxSlayer or something else. If you wanted the $79,000 income limit, you have to go through MyFreeTaxes. So if you hit continue, you will be pushed over to taxslayer.com and you can create an account or log in. So it's that easy. Now, let's go back to MyFreeTaxes and go into a little bit more of what we have here. Please note that right now we are going through a couple of website updates. So there is a chance that if you go on to MyFreeTaxes in 2 weeks, it's going to look a little different, but the buttons and everything on here will remain the same. It'll just look a little bit more updated. So let's go into our support page. You can go there by going to FAQ or by hitting support. It'll lead you to the same place. Let's click that. And here's where you can see that it's a little bit different. This is about the look and feel that you will see in the next couple weeks if you do decide to use MyFreeTaxes at the end of March or in the beginning of April. It's going to look more like this. Now, here you have some trending topics and different questions that have been used frequently by our filers. These do update depending on the questions that are used the most. You have our main topics. We have pretty common questions that are asked and different filing questions. This is our largest set of questions because we do have a lot of folks asking about what they can and can't do with TaxSlayer. And if you need more assistance, we also have more information on how you can access the helpline. Helpline is available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. And again, through April 6th, and it changes a little bit from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily from April 19th to October 31st till the end of the extended filing season. And if you need some additional help and you want someone to contact you or you want to do this by email, you don't really want to be on a phone and there isn't an agent available for live chat, you can also contact us using this form, and then a member of our support team will be assisting you that way. It'll either be myself or we have many wonderful volunteers who are in every single day and answering filer questions. So we just ask for a couple questions: first name, last name, email, phone number is optional. Most likely you're going to be clicking tax filer if you're a tax filer or partner organization. Most of them are tax filers, and how we can assist you. I have a question about MyFreeTaxes, having a problem with the website, or you have question or need support using a tax software you access through MyFreeTaxes. If you click on this one, they'll ask you what software you're using, whether it's TaxSlayer, Cash App Taxes, or Get Your Refund. That's another partner of ours. And lastly, they'll also ask you to type in the question or detail your needs down below. Please do not enter any personal information. We have had folks who submit a social security number. Please don't ever do that. We will never ask you for that. We will never ask you for a password. Please just enter the case itself, whatever you're experiencing on the website, and then we will be able to ask you for more information if we need it, but we will never ask you for any sensitive or personal information, and we will ask you to blur anything out if you do send in a form. So lastly is whether or not you wanted to be added to the communication list in order to receive marketing and outreach materials, yes or no, and whether you're a robot. Most of us are not robots, but we have to ask that anyway. So that is the support page. We also have subcategories that you can use to find more specific questions. So if we go on filing questions, you can see that we have quite a large list, but subcategories will show the different questions that are specific. So like after filing your tax return, how do you check the status of your refund? What do I do if my return has been rejected? Where do I find the status of my state refund? So these are the kinds of questions that are going to be a little bit more specific, even though they do fall under filing. You will be able to find smaller lists that would be able to find for whatever question you may have. Now, to go into the additional filer resources, as I meant, like as you can see that we just go back to the page that we had that the look and feel of the original page, and not so much the support page. Again, this will be updated in the next couple weeks. And this is where you could find more information regarding our Savvy partnership and Change Machine. Right now, you can see information on how to open an affordable bank account, on whether it is free or low cost. It depends, and they are certified by Bank On. So all of these will have real bank accounts. Some of them are with Chase, some of them, it really just depends on the area that you're in and what the bank decides to certify for that time. And we also have different free tools that you could use to track your income, self-employed, and how to find a local financial coach. Just call 211 or visit 211.org, and they are locally based. Lastly, let's go on to tax guides. Here is where you'll find the different tax guides that we have available. The first three are the self-employed tax guides, like we had talked about for a while. So small business owners, home-based childcare, gig economy, and lastly, the new disaster resiliency guide. Now, if we were to click on any one of these, so let's click on gig economy, you will see that it opens up into a little blurb. It's broken up into two different parts, getting ready for the tax season and how to file your return. You can view it as a PDF. You can download it if you needed to, if you wanted to keep it or if you wanted to print it. And you can also have the full view on your computer if you wanted to do that while having TaxSlayer on the side. And we also have videos for it. They're both in English and in Spanish. So if you go to the Spanish page will hold the Spanish videos for these types of videos. It's going to be the same format. Part 1 is getting ready for tax season. Part 2 is how to file the return. The thing about these videos that's really helpful is you can also adjust the playback speed. So if you wanted them to speak a little bit slower, you wanted them to speak a little bit faster, you can do that. And you can also use it side by side along with the PDFs to make sure that you're getting the most of the information or getting the highlights of what you need. So that is MyFreeTaxes. This is where you can access the outreach materials. They'll just send you over to MyFreeTaxes /partners, which we went over. And lastly, if you ever know anybody who wants to volunteer with MyFreeTaxes, we do we accept volunteers every year. Right now we are closed for the season, but we do begin volunteer recruitment at around August, September. If you know anyone who ever wants to be a volunteer, feel free to send them over. They can contact us at info@MyFreeTaxes or just click here to apply and it'll send them straight to the application. So that is MyFreeTaxes in a nutshell. Right, I think at this point, if you wanted to have any questions or have anything that they wanted to bring up, feel free to do so. That is pretty much it on my end.
Thank you so much, Laura and Inaida. We do have one question in the Q&A. Someone asked, can I use an ITIN?
Yes, they can use an ITIN with MyFreeTaxes. They'll ask them for a different number when they're going through the process, but an ITIN can be used with MyFreeTaxes as long as they have the number ahead of time. If not, they'll just have to apply for, I think it's a W-7.
Great, thank you. And then we have another question. They want to know, is it trustworthy for when the agent asks to use or the company asks to input their bank account information for the refund payment?
Yes. So you have two different options while using MyFreeTaxes. You can have a check mailed to you directly, or you can input your bank account for to get a direct deposit. MyFreeTaxes, we don't hold any of your information when they get sent over to TaxSlayer. We do not have any information. We cannot access your account. We cannot view your return. We will never have the ability to do any of that. Their account is their account. So even when we ask TaxSlayer support, so let's say someone says, I accidentally input the wrong information and my tax return got rejected. Let's see what happened here. We would have to go to TaxSlayer support and we would ask the filer for their TaxSlayer username and email. We will never ask anyone for their password. And TaxSlayer support is able to go in and see what happened, but even they do not have the ability to save any information. Your account is your account. So if you're going to be putting in your direct deposit information for banking, feel free to do that. They do block out the numbers when you're filing it in. Once you hit continue, everything is stars. They don't have the number on there. So whatever it is that you decide to do, whether you do want to do direct deposit or a check, it is completely up to them, but it is safe.
And I would just add to that the software that we use, TaxSlayer, is the same software that that in-person Vita programs use. So it is the software that we receive from the IRS, and it follows all of the IRS like safety and data security protocols. So folks' banking information is safe, and the IRS does recommend that people use direct deposit if at all possible. You'll get your refund much quicker that way. And in a lot of cases, that is more secure. You don't have to worry about somebody stealing a check out of your mailbox, for example. So if you have the ability to do direct deposit, that's a good option.
I see the question on, can I file an extension on MyFreeTaxes? Yes, you can. That is available through the software. They do ask that you do it, I think it's before tax day, just to make sure that you don't accidentally lose that option, or but it is available on the TaxSlayer software. It's just a different form that you have to file, but it is available through MyFreeTaxes on the TaxSlayer software. And it is also 100% free. There is no cost to ever filing a return on through MyFreeTaxes. If you do see a cost, just contact us, because that typically means that the return was filed out not through MyFreeTaxes, but just someone accessing TaxSlayer on its own without going through the referral process. So it's important to note those kinds of things, but you should never ever be charged using MyFreeTaxes.
And one other question here, someone asked if they can put a company's checking account so that their refund goes to them and then the company can give them the refund.
If you trust the company, you know, I would be, you certainly can do that. I mean, you would have to have the checking account number and the financial institution's routing number. Like, you would have to have all of the correct banking information in order for that refund to be processed and to receive the direct deposit. But unless it's your business banking account, if you don't have direct access to that account, if it's somebody else's business that you work for example, you just would have to trust that whoever account that is, that you will actually get your refund.
One other question was if the chat was also available, the chat support also available in Spanish.
Yes. Yes, it is available in English and Spanish.
All right, any other questions?
Oh, I think we got one more. If we ourselves know the companies. We do have the direct partnership through the IRS. They are the ones who have the contract with TaxSlayer. We do have pretty constant communication with TaxSlayer due to folks having questions within their account. And like I mentioned previously, we do not have access, or we cannot view any tax returns or accounts on TaxSlayer. So we have to go to TaxSlayer support to ask them to go into the account to see what it is that's going on, if there is what the reject code is, and how folks can file their return and move on from the error. So we do have pretty constant communication with TaxSlayer. Cash App Taxes is not someone that we are affiliated with directly. This is just something that we offer tax filers who make above $79,000 and still want a free service that they could use to file their taxes. So that is the only one that is very much just a cold handoff that we hand off to that service. We don't get any information or data reports on it. The only one that we do get specific data on is TaxSlayer that most folks can use.
The only other thing I would add to that is that we also have a close relationship with folks at the IRS. So if we do see, a lot of common filer issues or people with similar questions, we can raise that up to the IRS. We noticed earlier this year that Vita sites were experiencing higher than normal numbers of rejections, a lot of which were related to people's health insurance. And that we, as part of, ENIRA's work with Vita sites and other organizations, we noticed that there seems to be higher than normal levels of fraud, basically Medicare fraud, where insurance brokers are signing people up for health insurance through the online marketplace in order to get like the broker commissions. And so people were experiencing challenges when they went to file their taxes because they were required to file a form for that public health insurance that they didn't even know that they had. And so we were able to alert the IRS to this, and the IRS was able to issue guidance for how filers should address this, or what they needed to do on in terms of the marketplace health insurance in order to address the situation. So that's another just sort of cautionary thing, like make sure that if you are a nonprofit organization and you work with clients, make sure that they are not providing their personal details to anyone that seems scammy, or that might be trying to offer them something free that seems too good to be true. I would say the same thing, for folks out there who, are getting offers of free gift cards or, groceries or cell phones, and people are asking for personal information in order to redeem those. Those are the types of things that we've seen as resulting in people getting scammed, and signed up for health insurance sort of without their knowledge. So it's important to just be aware of some of those. And so I use that example to say that, like, that's one of the things that we are able to do at the national level is to alert, other partners in the IRS about that, so people can get the word out to the folks that they serve, and make people aware of some of the stuff that's going on, and hopefully help people avoid it.
Thank you for that. And it looks like we don't have any more questions. We'll give folks maybe a few more seconds to input any last questions into the Q&A. If I see something. Oh, here's why do some tax preparers offer more money on returns? Is a question.
There are tax preparers. Most for-profit tax preparers charge by form. And so the more forms you fill out, the more forms they fill out, the more tax credits they say you are eligible for, and the more forms they fill out, the higher their fee. And so most reputable for-profit tax preparers, folks who receive training, and who work for like a big chain company type tax preparer will go by the book, and will prepare your taxes honestly, even though they might charge a high fee, they will prepare your taxes honestly. There are tax preparers out there though that generally don't work for large firms, who may be independent, or they may work for another type of business that also does taxes on the side. And oftentimes they will, guarantee you the highest return, or encourage, or tell you that they can get you a bigger return. The reality is, though, they oftentimes are not, they're not they're motivated by their profit and motivated by the larger fees, and not necessarily by doing your taxes correctly. And that can be damaging for the tax filer, because you're the ultimate, like, if you were to get audited, you're ultimately the one who's responsible for, either paying more money if they find that you owe more money, or if you got too big of a return, returning some of that to the government. And so, if you choose to use a paid tax preparer, I would want to make sure you ask some questions like, are you here and available all year round? Do you only, is this work, and are you in the area only through April? Because we do see people at companies that sell used cars, or rent to own furniture, or businesses like that do taxes, and then they're nowhere to be found after April 15th. And so you would want to understand, if you go to a for-profit tax preparer, are you around year round? Do your tax, ask questions. You're more than able to ask questions about, do your tax preparers get training? Is there any kind of certification or test that you use for your tax preparers? Do you have an accounting background? Do you have a college degree or an associate's degree? Those are all questions that you can ask to make sure that your tax preparer is someone who understands tax law, understands the process, and is someone who you can go to, either if your tax return is rejected, or if you get a letter from the IRS saying that you've been audited or something is amiss with your return. You want a tax preparer who's not going to just take off after April 15th. And again, even though I would also just say, our site is called MyFreeTaxes, but our overall mission at United Way is to make sure that everyone who's eligible for a free return gets one. So even if you don't use MyFreeTaxes, even if you use a local Vita site or another service, if you are eligible for free taxes, please investigate those free options first, because Vita sites are very high quality. Their volunteers are required to be certified by the IRS. They take an exam every year. Their quality numbers are very high. And so it's just because something is free doesn't necessarily mean that it's not of good quality. There are lots of free programs out there that provide good services to people. And most of these are nonprofits who just want to make sure that people who work hard and pay their taxes get a fair return at the end of the year. So regardless of whether or not you use MyFreeTaxes, I hope you will use a free service to get your taxes.
I'd also like to mention that a lot of these sites, where if they give you a very large refund and they can't really explain why, other than I moved a couple things around, I added these extra forms, that's usually cause for concern. Just as a personal anecdote, I met with a friend a week and a half ago who told me that he's a Schedule C gig economy, and most folks know that if you drive for Uber, or if you have, Lyft or anything like that, taxes are not paid automatically. You just get your straight dollar amount, and then when you file your taxes, most folks who file Uber or Lyft or anything like that tend to have to pay taxes. That's something that they're going to have to do. However, they were told that they were going to get almost a $3,800 refund, and it was in limbo now. It's been in limbo for almost 2 months. So that typically means that return is either going to get rejected, he might get audited, and he has nowhere he can go because that filer just up and disappeared. That preparer is gone. So that is now something that they're going to have to attend to and fix, or they're going to be in a lot more trouble when they're trying to figure out what happened to their return. So whoever it is that you're going to, I know it's very tempting to go to those advanced loans, file today, get money today. And there's folks like some people can't wait, they have to go. And that's valid. But if you can wait for your return, at least go to someone who you know you can trust, who won't disappear. You know what files are going to form, and you know that even if they are going to be taking money from your taxes, I know that there's a Liberty tax that was just mentioned. Even if you can't pay your taxes, they'll deduct it from your taxes. That still means that you're technically paying. You're still technically paying for your return, even if they are taking that money away. And that's also money that could be useful, whether it is $200 or $500. If someone gets the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, or a child tax credit, and they're at a paid preparer, every form, the child tax credit is one form, the EITC is another form, the additional child tax credit is another form. Those fees just keep building up. So the larger the return that someone thinks they're going to get, if they think they're going to get $3,000 because they got the child tax credit and EITC and additional child tax credit, it may turn out that they're only getting $2,500. And that might be beneficial for some people because they're getting the money today. But why, if you can, get all of your money back, especially with these free options that are available, you may as well, if you can, just get all of the money back and know that there's someone who is certified who can prepare your taxes for free. And know that it's going to be of good quality and is going to be as accurate as it possibly can. Because not only at an in-person VITA site do they have IRS for certified volunteers, it also gets reviewed twice, not just by the volunteer, but by the site coordinator who oversees that entire site, and it'll be reviewed again before it gets sent off. So it goes through a multi-step process that allows the return to be as accurate as possible.
Great, thank you so much. So with that, just want to say thank you again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Enaida and Laura, for all the great information and really for providing all the support for tax filers and making tax filing more accessible. So just want to let everyone know that we'll be sharing the recording of the webinar along with the slides and any links to resources that were mentioned in the next couple of days. So thank you again for joining us today, and hopefully through this collaboration, we can continue to support more families in filing their taxes and get the refunds that they qualify for. So thank you again and have a wonderful day, everyone.